This is Trekzone's That Time When.
Your weekly reminder, the Trekzone membership is available via the Trekzone website, the trek.zone/support. That's what I meant to say. The trek.zone/support. That is the place to jump onto to sign up to become a member of Trekzone on our YouTube channel. But you don't need a recurring monthly subscription to support the channel now. There is thanks at the bottom of every one of my videos on YouTube. Thanks is a way of doing a one-time donation. You can also do paypal.me/Spiral Media. That is another way to do a one-off donation to the channel. Now, people like Casey Shafsky, who was one of the producers of Yorktown, A Time to Heal, Trekzone's 2022 Trekzone Fan Film of the Year award winner, sent us some money via PayPal for the specific goal of getting a copy of the award. So we've sent out 3 prize packs to those executive producers of Yorktown now. And the way that they've helped us with the shipping and with the purchasing of the trophy and the prize pack is to send me money directly to PayPal. That does come. PayPal takes its cut, just like YouTube takes its cut, but the money comes through to me. I see it straight away and we action it. There are plenty of things coming up that you can directly support Trekzone with. We're hiring a crew to head to Vegas for us because unfortunately I can't just make the leap across the pond, as it were. Flying 12 hours across the Pacific is just a little out of the reach at the moment. COVID is still playing havoc with all that sort of stuff. But we do have a crew heading to Vegas. And if you wanted to support us make even greater stuff, there's a direct way that you can help out. And when you do directly help out, unlike some other productions, one in particular, you will know exactly where the funds are going to. PayPal sends me the money immediately. YouTube waits until I've got the $100 balance before they send the check. That's a bit old school, but yes. So there are plenty of ways of supporting Trekzone, but I'm not out here for the money. I'm here because I enjoy it. The access to the alumni is what I get out of this, and learning about space and science, especially Australia's contribution to those industries and those fields of study. That's my dopamine hit. That's what I get out of this. I work full-time for a living. That's what pays for Trekzone. But if you're out there and you've got a little bit of money to spare and you can go through YouTube Thanks, YouTube membership, or PayPal, I would greatly appreciate it. It helps me do even bigger things. That's not the reason for this video. The reason for this video is to do That Time When. And it's a little bit unfortunate that I went off on that tangent. It's what happens when I don't have the auto cue up. And I say it's unfortunate that I went off on that tangent because of today's episode. Obviously, in the last week, let's bring that tone down. In the last week, we have lost 3 Star Trek alum, and the sci-fi community as a whole have lost a total of 4 great people. Bernard Cribbins, Paul Silvano, David Warner, and of course, Nichelle Nichols. Some incredible people that have left this earth, slipped the silly bonds, as it were. It's not the first time that we've lost people in our community, of course, and Trekzone was podcasting back in December 2019 when DC Fontana passed away. And Larry Nemechek, Dr. Trek himself, beamed in to have a chat about her life, her legacy, and what she left behind. So I figured it's only appropriate on this very somber week to round it out here at Trekzone by flashing back to that time when Larry Nemechek beamed in and we talked about DC Fontana. Back for another week to chat more Trek with me. Larry Nemechek, thanks so much for your time. Unfortunately, not under better circumstances this week.
Hey, Matt. Well, thank you for having me back. I hope this doesn't keep happening so that you have to keep having me. I mean, I'd rather talk under other circumstances, I guess.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
yes.
The passing of a real, and we throw these words around, icon and legend and, founding father or founding mother. But Dorothy Fontana, I said this week that I realized how spoiled I was that we are, because she was like a direct pipeline right to 1964 or 1966.
Yeah, and she gave us some incredible episodes that she penned. Vulcan culture, computers taking over can be a bad thing. Kirk having a bad attitude and giving the Federation a cloaking device. Also helping out with Jadzia Dax on trial for the actions of her previous host. And we can't forget Encounter at Farpoint, the beginning of The Next Generation. Just some of her many credits that I've put together on Trekzone this week.
Well, I hope you included yesteryear and overseeing the first season of the original of the animated series, too.
I will include those when this article goes out. But in my original article back on Wednesday, it was those ones. But yeah, so much. She did so much, not just for Star Trek, but for female science fiction writers as well.
Yeah, when you think that, I mean, DC Fontana is a giveaway. Although, as I saw somebody on a woman writer saying today, well, I still use my initials because I still feel that pressure. And, we think about the revolution, hopefully the giant leavening of all minorities, of gender equality, of all that, but it still exists and people still feel that. But the fact that she was able to do that, I mean, it's amazing. We talked about Dorothy all week, and people start with the episodes, obviously, like, the fact that, Spock and Vulcans and Sarek and Amanda she created, and on the side, the Andorians and the Tellarites. Okay. All of her classic episodes, and This Side of Paradise, and yes, and you mentioned the Enterprise incident, the stolen cloaking device, but also, hey, the Romulan commander and Spock again. So she had that, touch. But then, step back a moment, and she was recurringly there with the animated series and the roots of TNG. And although they didn't always maybe end up on a happy note, like she left first season, because I think a lot of times that's where her, even though she kept getting this shot, and we love her today and her creations for Trek, and she had many other credits before and after too. Let's she wasn't a one-trick pony here, but she, as much as we ballyhoo her for being able to do what she did hit the glass ceiling many times, and that was a source of friction, obviously. But the fact that we just had her for so long, and that's what, we had her on the Trek Files for 6 episodes and getting to talk about a wide range of moments. But just the fact that she lectured at the AFI, and she mentored so many writers over the years, and would talk. It's just so friendly. Would talk to fans. She would do conventions, big and small, and just talk to anybody and give people advice on their writing, and just a really open, sharing wonderful person. And I just thought she'd be with us forever, and then they're not, and you go, oh, but you treasure the fact that even if getting to know her was wonderful, especially the last few years, but everybody benefits from as many interviews as she did, documentaries and DVD, Blu-ray interviews, and podcasts and interviews and convention appearances, and we have all that to treasure now.
What's your fondest moment of getting to sit down with Dorothy and talk about Trek?
As much as I'd been an original series fan, my time and money, my income was all coming from the Next Generation onward. I mean, she was always good about answering. Once she knew who you were, she would answer email questions a lot. But it wasn't until just the last 5, 6, 7 years that we would have sit downs and have extended conversations, and then kind of climaxing on the podcast. But I had several conventions where we got to sit and talk. And I remember I shared this one of my favorite moments is at Condor, this little small San Diego convention, not the big Comic-Con, but the small Trek and MediaCon, in 2016 for the 50th. And they had David Gerald and John and Bejo Trimble and Dorothy and her husband Denny Skolak, who's an Oscar-winning visual effects artist. And then they were nice enough to have myself in too. But we were walking out a door, and some guy was cosplaying as an Andorian. And we were walking along, and she just stopped and kind of looked at him and said, "An Andorian, I created you." And it was just one of those funny moments that you go, "Oh, that's great." I took a picture. We recreated the moment. But I'd carried this also at that time. I'd carried the script around for ages, just assuming it was the original way that she was going to introduce Joanna McCoy, McCoy's daughter, who she never got to see in film. They finally turned up a little bit in an animated episode. But in live action, Joanna became the Russian girlfriend of Chekhov because Fred Freiberger didn't think that McCoy was old enough to have a daughter that Kirk could fall for without it being, weird. But this script had Joanna McCoy, and I bought it in like the 80s. And I finally got to say, "Would you autograph this?" And she looked at it and she says, "I never wrote this." there'd been 30 years, and it had gotten into memory alpha that way, that this was hers. And so we had this great discussion about that. And anyway, a lot of things.